let's turn back to politics now with our CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killion and Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes in West Palm Beach, Florida. Great to be with both of you. Nicole, we saw you speaking with Pete Hegseth on Capitol Hill. He seemed to be relatively calm as he paced through the halls of Congress, talking with CBS News. And what was your takeaway up close of Hegseth?
Well, to your point, I mean, he has tried to take this process in stride. You know, we have talked to him just about every day this week since he has been up here, as there have been this drip, drip, drip of allegations ranging from financial impropriety to sexual misconduct to drinking on the job, all of which we have asked him about. Some questions he has answered, others he did not. But as you heard from that exchange we had with him this morning, at this point, he is not backing down and does not appear this time to have any intentions of withdrawing his name from consideration, despite our reporting that the president-elect may be considering Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for this role. As you heard Hegseth tell me that he spoke directly with President-elect Trump this morning and said that the president-elect encouraged him to continue to keep going, that he is behind him all the way. That is something he reiterated to reporters throughout the day here. Just a short time ago, he had a pretty critical meeting with Joni Ernst, who hasn't committed to supporting Hegseth just yet and has expressed concern about some of these allegations. You know, she did say that this was a pretty candid discussion that they had. Hegseth also told me that it was very engaging. But certainly she will be a critical vote going forward, and someone who has also potentially been floated as a defense secretary designate potentially. However, she did tell me when I asked her if she was being considered for the job, she said Pete Hegseth is a nominee for now.
Let's listen to Senator Ernst. We have a clip of her.
Senator, will you support Mr. Hegseth's nomination?
It was a frank and thorough conversation.
That goes to Nicole's point, frank and thorough. She doesn't seem to be angling for the job. Let's hear what Hegseth had to say himself in a gaggle.
We're putting the warfighters first. That's what Donald Trump asked me to do. Your job is to bring a warfighting ethos back to the Pentagon. Your job is to make sure that it's lethality, lethality, lethality. Everything else is gone. Everything else that distracts from that shouldn't be happening. That's the message I'm hearing from senators in that advise and consent process. And it's been a wonderful process.
It's been a rocky process as well for Mr. Hegseth. So you see a message of defiance in his conversations with Nicole Killion. You see it he was on the Megyn Kelly program saying he's not going to withdraw. And you have everybody, Nancy Cordes, watching this at Mar-a-Lago, including President-elect Trump. And there is this talk of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. So how is the Trump orbit weighing Hegseth's performance on Capitol Hill with the reality that they might go in a different direction if that reporting bears out?
Well, I'll tell you, Robert, I've been talking to sources today, and sources close to Ron DeSantis say that he is indeed interested in this job and would likely accept if it were to be offered to him. Trump advisors themselves are staying quiet. They have not acknowledged publicly that Hegseth's nomination is in any trouble. But clearly, the fact that replacements are being floated at all, including DeSantis, including Joni Ernst, including Congressman Wesley Hunt, is a sign that they are already looking forward. And the possibility that someone like Ron DeSantis, someone who's a current governor, so he's got executive experience, he has military experience as well, having served as a JAG officer with the Navy SEALs, it was described to me that this position is a perfect fit for his experience, and he's certainly someone who has been vetted and would be highly unlikely to run into some of the same troubles that Hegseth has been running into as he meets with Republican senators.
What's your sense, though, Nancy, about where this all goes in the coming days?
Well, I think, CBS News has already reported that at least 4 Republican senators would be no votes on Hegseth if the vote were to be held today. Now, it's not being held today. It's probably not going to be held for another month. But things don't seem to be going in the right direction for Hegseth. And so the question is, how long will the president-elect allow this kind of uncertainty to go on? And might it be easier for him now that DeSantis, for example, who wasn't that interested initially in joining the administration, he felt like he had a great day job here in Florida, if someone of DeSantis's name recognition, experience, caliber is interested in taking this job and would not present some of the headaches that Hegseth has been presenting to Trump, then it might be worth it for him to change course.
Nicole, back to you. When you're on Capitol Hill, you're hearing from lawmakers, as you've reported, about Hegseth's alleged conduct. And Hegseth has spoken out, as I mentioned, on the Megyn Kelly show about what he's being accused of in terms of past alleged sexual misconduct, past alleged just misconduct generally. Let's listen to what he had to say.
It is an arsenal of lies. They mobilize to destroy. I've had senators look me in the eye, friends, great, said they're trying to kill you. And when I wake up, I look at my wife, we talk about it. We say, if Donald Trump can do this, if he can fight the way that he's fought with everything they've done to them, then we better learn to be able to fight ourselves.
So, Nicole Killion, I'll ask you the same question I just asked Nancy. What's next? I mean, where does the reporting truth exist amid all of the talking points and the defiance?
Well, as of now, we are expecting Pete Hegseth to continue to be a constant presence here on Capitol Hill. He is expected to have more meetings this week, potentially the following week as well. So to his point, he is not backing down. He is not going anywhere. And those who are kind of shepherding him around Capitol Hill this week reaffirmed that. But that being said, you know, to Nancy's point, this is going to come down to math and the numbers. I think that's part of why you're seeing Pete Hegseth out there doing this full court press, you know, doing interviews with Megyn Kelly, talking to us here on Capitol Hill, not only meeting with Senate Republicans today, but House Republicans, even though technically they don't have a say in this confirmation process, at least for now. And of course, his mother taking to the airwaves earlier today as well in support of her son, despite sending a very scathing email that was published by the New York Times calling him an abuser of women, although she walked that back, saying she kind of did that more in the heat of the moment. So that being said, you know, I think Hegseth will continue to forge ahead. There are a number of senators who have expressed reservations about these allegations and some who remain non-committal at this time. And so, you know, the more Hegseth continues to stay on the Hill, it's really a question of will he be able to sway more of these senators who may be on the fence to his side.
And very quickly, Nicole, was that Norm Coleman, the former Minnesota senator I saw walking behind Hegseth? What's he doing up there?
Well, he is one of those who is acting as a Sherpa, if you will, for Pete Hegseth. He has been with him over the last couple of days. And of course, they have a Minnesota connection. So he told me that is why he is here in support of Hegseth, helping him out at this time.
I've always thought that was a funny word, Sherpa. It's like something out of a Hemingway novel or something. Nicole Killion and Nancy Cordes, one in Washington, one in Palm Beach, both great. Thank you so much.